Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to come your way once again. I know it's been quite a while, really been busy with a ton of other things, but it's good that I can connect with you again. We have another episode of our very favorite Nimde talk. And I do have a guest that has a very interesting story that I'm really excited that he would be here to share with us today. Hello, who do we have here today?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. And we have Aboagye here, Ghanaian, and also a PhD student at Newcastle University. My PhD is in digital health. We're trying to explore ways we can help people manage fatigue better with digital health technology.
Okay, that's quite an interesting field. Nana, what's your background? Are you a medical doctor? Are you an IT guy? Are you a software person? What is your relationship with technology and health?
Great. Thank you for that question. I'm a biomedical engineer by background. I did my bachelor's in biomedical engineering in Ghana. And biomedical engineering obviously entails a bit of medicine and also engineering. My background is in both. I'll say my background is in a bit medicine, or I have a bit of a medical background that's in biomed, and also a tech/IT background that's also done in biomed. Yeah, basically that.
Okay, Nana, that's for the average person growing up in Africa or Ghana. Biotech engineering is not what we'll call the normal pathway in terms of course selection. How did you end up going into biomedical engineering? Was it something that you were very interested in right from childhood? Or how did you get into that field?
Great. I'll say that getting into that field was not a straight path, to be fair. I actually wanted to do medicine. Growing up, I also liked technology. I used to do a bit of like technology stuff.
Are you one of those, what we'll call disappointed medical students? Was it one of those?
Okay, yes, I would say that because obviously they even call biomed student disappointed medical student.
Okay.
I'll say yes. I'll say yes for that.
Okay, please go on.
Yeah, obviously then after I wrote my WASI, then I didn't get the good grades in quotes that they call to get into medical school. Then I was like, okay, then what can I do that is related to medicine? And then I researched to only find out that there's a course like biomed engineering, which I never knew of, which looks like I can do that. And then after that, I can literally continue and do medicine. I was like, okay, let me just try and do this course. So that was it. And then when I started the course, then I was like, okay, I like this course. It looks interesting, something that I would like to further.
I know when you were talking, you mentioned that you had an interest in technology as a child. How did that sort of manifest itself? What was it? Genetic? Was your dad the Elon Musk of Ghana? How did that whole technology interest manifest itself for you as a child?
Okay, yeah. I'll say that growing up, we had a bit of tech stuff in our home. To be fair, I just used to scatter stuff and just try to fix them back. Basically, what I was doing most of the time. Then I realized that it looked like I was very good in assembling these parts, sometimes without even manuals and stuff. That primed my interest in technology, and I was like, okay, it looks like this is something that I do effortlessly. It's something that I can explore career-wise, or even if not even career-wise, something that even if I find myself doing any other thing, I'll still do that in relation to that. I'll say to technology for me then was me actually having access to those stuff earlier. Then it literally allowed me to build interest in them and liked using them. That was it.
Interesting. And when you say those stuff, are you referring to laptops or mobile phones or what type of technological devices were you exposed to as a child?
I'll say mostly laptops, then those times desktop computers and mobile phones.
Okay.
Those were the three main things.
Understand. You finish your secondary school. Unfortunately, your grades are not that great. And for medical school, you decide to go to do biomedical engineering.
Yeah.
as an alternative, were you thinking that we're going to use that path as an indirect route to medicine?
Yes, before I started the first year in that course, that was the whole plan. The whole idea was to just do this as a base, and then after that, get into medical school with that degree.
All right.
That was the plan.
Okay. And would you say that you went to one of those prestigious universities in Ghana? I assume you went to the big ones like KNUST or Legon. Where did you do this degree? Was it in Accra?
Okay, I did this degree in Koforidua at All Nations University.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, how did you end up at All Nations? With all due respect, it's not normally where people would go when they are really high performing and want to go to med school. They want to probably go to university that have medical schools. How did you get to All Nations?
All Nations is also an interesting story. Then, when I was thinking of schools that do biomed, because obviously this was the decision. Now I'm not going to medical school.
Right.
Now I have to look at I have to look at how do I do a course in biomed engineering. I just went to Google. I said schools in Ghana that do biomed engineering. And I found this school there, All Nations University. I was like, okay, I've never heard of this school before. But it looks like it's one of the good schools that are doing biomed. And they even started biomed, one of the schools that started biomed engineering earlier in Ghana. I was like, okay, let me apply to this school and see. Because obviously I knew that I'm not going to stay in biomed. I'm just using it as a stepping stone for medicine.
Right.
I was like, okay, let me apply. Then when I applied, I just got to school and I just went there. I would say that I didn't even know it, even when I was even writing my WASI, to be fair. It was just, if I would say, a coincidence, but maybe not a coincidence. But yeah.
I see. I would assume that you were a city boy. Were you a Kumasi or Accra or like where did you go?
Oh yeah, Accra, Tema. I've been in Tema all my life, like all my life, just there, just being in Tema all my life, Accra.
How was Cooktown?
Yeah, to be fair, when I went there first, I'll use the word sad. Let me use the word sad. I'll not use the word down. I'll use the word sad because then one, I knew no one there, like no one at all. Was all my friends, family. I didn't even have any family there. All my friends, family, either in Kumasi or they are in Accra. Then first, I felt very sad and very down for the first month. But then later on, I started building up relationships with people, meeting friends, all this other stuff. I started loving the city because looked at it, the city was very cool. Much people there are friendly and all this other stuff. But I'll say that for the start, it was a bit sad for me. But then, yeah, I got used to it.
And how did an incredibly sad, unhappy first year undergrad take his educational prospects in Koforidua? How did, in terms of your academic performance, how well did you do? And what was the motivation for you? Was it still the passion to go into med school then?
Great question. I think what really primed my motivation there was the fact that I realized that, okay, I was not able to make it to medical school. And now I have to make sure I take advantage of this now to, I'll not use the word prove myself, but I'll use the word go above my limits. Basically, what made me do well in school there was partially the fact that I felt that I'd failed my first stage by not getting into medical school. So it looks like I just wanted to redeem that phase of my life. I took my studies there serious. I'll say 50% or 70% based up on the fact that I didn't get to medical school. And I wanted to make sure that in this next phase of my life, I make good use of the opportunity there. Because one, I've not got any friends there, nothing at all. It's just me and my books and that. I'll say that was the propelling factor there.
Did you feel like the biblical Moses in the back of the desert looking at the sheep?
Yes, I will, because then I'm alone there.
Okay. And you said that you went literally beyond the limit of your ability to, in some sense, prove yourself to yourself, really, that you are somebody who was capable and that the challenges that you had faced earlier will not define you. What would you say were some of your achievements as a young biomedical student studying biomedical engineering? Were there some sort of highlights or milestones that you had achieved during your time studying?
Yes, I'll say that. Basically, I remember my first year in my school. In the first year, we mostly have combined classes for all engineering students. I'll say we're more than 100 in a particular class of chemistry, where we did, I think, a first mixed semester exams. And then I happened to be the person with the highest grade in the class. And I remember the lecturer came in and was like, who is this person? This person had the highest score. And that I was like, okay. I'll say that was something that actually pushed me further on to be like, okay, I can do this thing. If I put my mind to that, I can do that. I'll say from that time on, I was doing so well in my exams each semester. And then further forward to when we had a conference for the Ghana Society of Biomedical Engineers, which was held in my school. I was one of the people that were nominated to present on behalf of our school. And then I happened to get the best project presentation at the conference. And then from there, I happened to get into teaching assistantship role, where I was also involved in some teaching activities in some classes before I graduated. I'll say that has been a bit of the highlights through my school.
I can safely say that you were a high-performing student.
Yeah,
on the basis of the evidence that you've provided.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I was not bad.
Okay. And you finished the biomedical engineering, and in very simple, plain language, what does a biomedical engineer do? For some of us who don't know much about the field and about the work, like in very simple, plain, everyday language, what does a biomedical engineer do?
Basically, a biomed engineer translates engineering principles to medicine. That's what basically he does. He's able to just translate whatever thing we can do in engineering into medical practice to help medical practice or to help medicine, basically that.
If I was working and I broke an arm and I needed some type of mobility solution that requires engineering technology, I could give you guys a call and you will craft a solution for me. Something like that.
Yes, basically that. We are there to translate the two sectors. We are just there to translate. We have the medicine and we have the engineering. Biomedical engineers are just there to translate these two sectors. If you have broken an arm, biomed engineers their work is to see how engineering wise we can craft something. And then in the medical setting, how will this fit and how would this not pose a threat to the person? They consider these two stuff and they do something like that.
Okay. All right. In essence, like it's almost an intersection. It's like your Venn diagram, medicine here, engineering here, and then that intersection.
That's the intersection, yeah.
Okay. Intersection. I think I'm a biomedical engineering scholar now based on it. Okay. Back to your story. You finished your undergrad and you I assume did very well, and you were considering to some degree the next step. I know you said that in your introduction that you are a PhD student. Can you tell us how you moved from an undergrad degree in Ghana from Koforidua to a master's degree and then to a PhD? How did that whole process come about?
Great. I'll just start with this. I'll say from my third year doing my bachelor's, I realized that, okay, I don't think I want to go and do medicine again. I want to explore a career opportunity in biomed engineering. So when I decided that, I had one lecturer then who actually primed my interest in grad school. It was like, okay, he feels that I'll do if I pursue graduate studies in biomed and then try and do something else. Because obviously in Ghana then, I also realized that the field of biomed engineering is not very promising now because we have not got the technical advancements and stuff to do that bit. Then I was like, okay, I would apply for grad school straight after my service. When I completed my school, I did my national service. While I was doing my national service, I started applying for graduate schools. Actually, I started applying for masters, basically.
Which is the normal trajectory.
Yeah, it's the normal trajectory. Yeah. But then I realized I was got to master's office that was at the US, which was much expensive. I was like, okay, this one is so expensive, one. And two, what do I just do after a master's? Because I just wanted something that would let me gain so much experience. Not just, going to class, but then doing something that will also gain so much experience. I was like, okay, let me try and apply for a PhD. And note this, I've not done a master's.
Directly from an undergrad to a PhD?
Yes, directly from there. I was just thinking out loud because I was like, okay, because
that's very bold.
Yeah, that is, to be fair, that was very bold. I was like, but then I was like, because I'm not ready to go back to just sitting in class again. Because I realized that most of the masters were taught I had to sit in class again to learn. I was like, okay, my field is rapidly developing and I need to get my hands on something, do something, either researching or doing something. I don't think masters will be a good fit for me now. But then obviously that was me thinking out loud. I applied to 3 schools. The first school got back to me. And then I had an interview. It's like, okay, I don't have so much experience. I don't fit the role because I've not even done a master's. I don't have experience.
And those were PhD programs that you applied to.
Yes, right. So those master PhD programs. The master's program, I got them, all right. But then, that I kept them somewhere, trying to focus on the PhD. And the first one was like, okay, you don't have it. So we had someone who had more experience. I was like, okay. So when that came, I was like, okay, now I think I'm going over the bar now. I should go and start. I should go and think of doing masters here because I was like, okay, it means I literally need experience to do that, which makes sense. Then I'd apply to a last school, of which I'll add even settled in my head, I'm not even going to get it. Let me just attend this interview and that's all. I'm just going to sit somewhere because I'll not get it, obviously. So I went for this interview, and in this interview, network was so bad. So bad that even the interviewers had to turn off their video camera to even support me so that they can even hear what I'm saying and all this other stuff.
It sounds like a shipwreck to me.
It is because I'm like, why would this interview be this way? Because network was working fine. Just at the time of the interview, network is just misbehaving like that. I was like, okay, this thing I've just feel.
Nana, did you think the witches in your family were after you at that point?
I didn't even have time to even think of witches. I just wanted the thing to work. I was like, at this time, I'm not even thinking about I want it to just work.
Did you call your village?
I'm not even calling. I'm like, I'll even plead with them. Please let this one day, let's work.
Okay.
So I was like, God, I feel this thing already. This one day, I've even filled it in, like, I've filled it in advance.
Right.
Then
what happened?
Then after this interview, I'm just there random day, I think 2 days or 3 days after. Just there. Obviously, I'm doing my national service then. I was at Ridge Hospital and Greater Accra Regional Hospital. I was there then. Just there, sat there, and just received a mail. We are glad to offer you this PhD opportunity. I'm like, what? Seriously?
Okay. The one that you had connectivity problems.
Yes, the particular one that had connectivity problem that I thought I'd failed because I spoke less because they don't even hear what I was saying most of the time. I was like, wow.
That's quite interesting.
Very interesting.
But how did you feel? Was it lots of excitement? You probably called your family and you organized some party or what was the celebratory mood? That was quite an exciting achievement, though.
It is. And the first person I just texted was my dad. Because I'll say my dad has been very instrumental in my whole journey of grad school stuff. My dad has wasted so much money. I remember one day telling him that, okay, I'm not going to do this thing again because I feel I've just wasted so much of his money in school applications and all this other stuff. I'm just going to do it again. I remember him telling me one thing.
What did he say?
He just told me that, am I the one paying the money? And he the one that is paying the money, is not complaining. So what is my problem? I was like, I would say that was what motivated me to feel like I would not have even applied for this page I got to. Because I was like,
Right.
okay, I'm not going to do anything anymore. But my dad was like, he's the one that motivated me. What he said actually motivated me to still go ahead. So then when I received the message, he was the first person I just told, like straight away, just told him. I was like,
And I bet he was very happy.
he was, to be fair, he was very happy because he at least he can now see that, okay, at least he has got some produce from his investment.
Very interesting. And that was the Newcastle PhD. And then you from Tema, British Airways drops you in London, and then hop up on a plane, and then you arrive in Newcastle as a PhD student.
Yeah.
With an undergrad degree.
Yes.
How did you prepare yourself for that? Wasn't that a bit unsettling, making such a big jump? Did you prepare yourself in any way for that? And
Yeah.
okay. And was the PhD in biomedical engineering, was it in a familiar terrain then?
Yes, this is a very good question. When I realized that, okay, I'm coming to do a PhD now, I was like, okay, first, different research culture. Secondly, I had not done much research in Ghana then. Although my PhD entailed mostly data analysis and data collection somewhat, but I still not had that research culture before. I was like, okay, given the time that I'm applying for this PhD, because obviously I started even preparing myself before I got a PhD opportunity. I'll say a year after my degree, I started preparing myself that wise, that even if I don't even get a PhD, I'm still preparing myself, honing my skills, looking at the requirements of these PhDs, looking at what exactly happens in there, looking at the kind of skills I'll need and all this other stuff. I'll say when I came here, I'll say 50 or 60% of the stuff that I was supposed to do, I'd read about them before I came here.
And who guided you to do that preparation? Did it just come to you or did you talk to somebody? How did you arrive at thinking, okay, I may not have the right level of skill. Let me try to prepare myself for this step up.
I'll say one of the people that really helped me was my bachelor's thesis supervisor, who happens to be a lecturer now in KNUST. I'll say he's one of the main pivots in my grad school journey. He actually helped me a lot, but most of the time he would signpost me to stuff I need to learn, stuff I need to do, some skills I need to learn, and how I can put myself out there for opportunities and all this other stuff. I'll say from there, from his guidance / mentorship there, I actually like reading a lot, like knowing stuff that are happening around me. And also what I also like doing is to not put myself on the spot every time. Then, in order not to do that, I always try to think ahead and learn ahead. Whatever I'm going to do, I make sure I read so much on it and know at least what happens there.
Okay.
I'll say
that's
so.
very
I'll say
proactive.
this too. Yeah. That's how I've just been every time. I'll make sure that at least what I'm going to do, I know something about. Even if I've not read so much about it, at least I can see something or I know something. I know what is happening there, so I don't find myself wanting. I'll say these were the two kind of factors that helped me that way.
How did you find Newcastle as a young? Was that your first trip abroad then, coming to Newcastle?
Yeah. I'll say that's it.
How did you find it?
A funny story here. So then I'm coming to Newcastle. I don't know anyone to be. Then I just go to Newcastle Uni and I just type random Ghanaian names to see if I can find a Ghanaian who is in the school. And I just tend to find a Ghanaian, like Ghanaian name Kwabena or like Kwabena. That will be a Ghanaian by all means. Let me just send him a message and say, oh, I'm coming to Newcastle, right? I don't know anyone here. I was just trying because I thought he would not even reply. Just sent him a message and he just replies me back like, oh, okay, nice. Okay, if I get to the airport, I should let him know. So this is me. If I didn't even do that, it means I'll just get to the airport and I'll also have to use Google Map or something to find where I'm going to. And then then he tells me that I should get a jacket because I should get a warm jacket because it's very cold. And do you know that I just wore a hoodie from Ghana
Okay.
and brought it here? And when I just came out of the airport, my God, I was freezing. I had
What
not
time
seen.
of year was it? What
It
time of
was
year was it?
November. It was in November. That was like around winter, is it?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
November.
so you came with a hoodie
Just a,
and then you met Kwabena. You just let me take a step back. You were in Ghana. You
uh-huh.
said, okay, I'm coming to Newcastle. I don't know anybody here. I'm going to search for a Ghanaian name because
Yeah,
I'm from Ghana
yes.
and I'm looking for a familiar name. I'm from Ghana. And out of all the Ghanaian names, it was Kwabena that came to mind. You search for Kwabena and then you find also Kwabena in Newcastle.
Yeah,
And then you send that Kwabena an email.
yes.
And then he says, you know what? This is not good for you, dear. Buy a jacket.
Yes, yes. First, I think I sent Kwabena a mail. I didn't get
Yeah.
a reply, I think. I found his LinkedIn and I sent him a message there. Maybe he was not looking at his mail. Then he replied there. And it was so receptive. Oh, really? Nice. You're coming to, oh, okay, okay. I mean, it's just in those talks that I was like, okay, so I'll need to get a jacket when I'm coming because it's very cold. I was like, okay, but in my head, I thought that code was just a normal hoodie code.
Oh, okay. So you arrived in November and you found it very cold.
That was my
Uh,
first impression. Cold just hit me.
okay. You have a good hit from the cold. Was Kwabena at the airport? How did you link up with him? Did you meet him at the airport? How did you connect with him?
Yeah, but not actually, when I got to the airport, Newcastle airport, then he just ordered an Uber for me, like boats for me straight up.
Okay.
Then I came to his place. Like he ordered a boat for me straight to his place
Okay.
to see him. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. And I assume you are best friends now.
Yeah, he's one of my very good friends.
Okay. Wow. Welcome to Ghana in Newcastle. Anyway, what exactly do you work on for your PhD? What I know things can get probably complex at this level, but for the everyday listener, what's the basic idea that you are exploring for your PhD?
Basically, in my PhD, what I'm trying to do is that so fatigue or tiredness, as we say, it's a prevalent symptom in people with chronic diseases. People that have rheumatoid arthritis, long COVID, Parkinson's, most chronic diseases, they have fatigue as a symptom with it. Basically, in my PhD, what I'm just trying to do is that we just give people these wearable watches or smart watches, you put it that way. And then we measure we have some measures we take from them. We will call digital biomarkers. So that is basically these physiological signals like their heart rate and breathing rate, all this other stuff, and then their activity levels. And basically what we're trying to do is to try and get an objective measure, right, of how the fatigue symptom in these people is, like, or how it happens. And then if we are able to find out how fatigue in these people is related to these measures, then we can be able to give interventions towards that to help them mitigate their fatigue and have enough energy levels for their daily life activities.
A very relevant research project then,
Yes,
because fatigue and chronic disease is something that is quite prevalent now in this
it,
generation.
it is very prevalent.
What's your long-term plan? What do you plan to do? Clearly, there's a huge technology gap in Africa. There are opportunities. In a perfect world, what would you do
Okay,
after
I'll
your
say,
PhD, of course?
okay, after my PhD, okay, the plan now is to be able to deliver solutions via mobile applications and smart watches to people with some of these chronic conditions and with some of these chronic symptoms like fatigue, tiredness, and stress and all this other stuff. For instance, now in my PhD, I just built an app that actually translates whatever we are doing in or whatever data analysis we are doing in to see if it helps people better manage their fatigue. It's just simply an app that it predicts people's fatigue episodes for them, and then it gives them recommendations on how they can improve their energy levels. And from that, The long plan there is what I plan to do is to develop suitable apps like that can help people not just thinking about fatigue, but thinking of the broader aspect of how we can help people manage some of their chronic conditions and chronic symptoms with mobile applications and also with smartwatches.
I would assume that your skill sets include like coding, machine learning, and all the fancy new technology skills there.
Yes, exactly.
How good are you out of 10? You say you are an 8 or a 9. Are you really good at this?
Oh yeah, I'll see. One thing is that I've always been, especially the way sharpening, I've always been
Okay,
sharpening my skills because
right,
given that we always have healthy competition every time,
right.
and then we always have to make sure we are doing things right and also make sure there's a bit of competence in whatever we are doing. I'll say my skill set level might be at 8 now, but it can be at 9 next week because I'm always improving.
That's a good perspective. Do you have any hobbies at all?
Oh yes, I'm a multi-instrumentalist. I play the keyboards, the drums, and the guitar, and I also do some music production stuff, mixing and mastering for people and that stuff. And I also play football and basketball.
Okay. Do you sing?
I don't sing.
Okay, you don't think you have a good voice, eh?
I don't have a bad voice. I don't have a bad voice, but I don't sing.
Okay. You do, you play all these. I always find it interesting that people who are very tech savvy also tend to have music talent in terms of playing the instrument. From your lived experience, is there any correlation between coding and playing the guitar?
Okay. I'll say if we talk about intersection there, it might just be the whole idea of the digitalization of music. Because see, I'll say that in the earlier years, music was not really digitized. You had
Right,
more analog feel of music where you usually had to carry large boards, carry very big guitars, all those other stuff because they were more analog. But now because of the digitized version of music, now you can easily learn instruments, music production, and all those other stuff a bit if you're a bit tech oriented. Because then now
right,
most of the stuffs are on the PCs. Like
right.
now you usually even have a mixer on your PC. You can have, I mean, you can just produce music basically just on your PC, with just some few equipment and all this other stuff. I'll say it's much easier now if you're a bit tech
Yeah,
oriented to learn music
yeah. Because it's almost like the same logical sequence.
like that.
The core skills are the same to some degree
Kind
on
of,
the coding
yeah.
side.
But
Interesting.
yeah, because it's digitized now. It's more.
Okay. Really pleasant conversation with you, Dana, but every good thing must come to an end. We are almost close to the end. I want you to like really take a reflective look back at sort of your life in terms of some of the decisions you have made, some of the lessons you have made. And I want you to put yourself in the shoes of, let's say, a young African that is listening to us in Koforidua or Nairobi or Rwanda or South Africa. And what would be for you to have the best advice that you can give to anybody who is listening to us right now based on your lived experience?
Okay, probably I might just highlight a few things.
Okay.
So obviously from what I've said all throughout, I mean, if anyone that's going to listen to this, if they listen closely, they'll realize that there are a bit of gap, or let me not say gaps, but I'll just say a bit of randomness in my journey far. And I'll say to start with that my journey has not been straight. And it has not been straight because I always have a factor. I always believe there's a factor beyond my abilities that is part of my journey. And that's always been God. Although I know I've said that, oh yes, I was learning. I was always making sure that I'm there, taking my education serious, taking my book serious and all this other stuff. But also I acknowledged that there's also a factor in there that helped me for my whole journey. That was the God factor in there. What I'll say here is that first and foremost, whatever faith you find yourself in, I mean, as a young person, you should take it serious. And then the second bit will be believing in yourself, and believing yourself not to be proud, but believing in yourself that you can actually attain whatever you want to attain. And then the third bit will be proactiveness and then being task oriented. I think one thing I realized is that sometimes we want to get to a certain level, but then we are not really wanting to put in the effort, or we are not really willing to put in what it takes to get there. Where I think is one thing that, I mean, my generation or youth of my level will need to learn and understand that any level that we want to get to, there's a price, obviously, that we'll have to pay for that. We always have to make sure that we are proactive in that sense. And then wherever you want to get to, you make sure that first and foremost, you actually read on the people there. You read a bit of their story, what they have done, what they did, and then you actually apply similar, and always examine yourself to see, okay, am I on this trajectory? For instance, okay, I want to progress my education. I want to go to grad school as a young adult or a youth now. I'm doing my bachelor's. If I know that I want to go to grad school, what I'll be doing now is just not always playing football every day. But then what I'll be doing is to say, okay, I want to go to grad school. What are the requirements? Even though I might be in my first year or second year. But then I'll start searching, okay, what are the requirements? Okay, these people have gone to grad school. I can ask them, what did they do? What are their skill sets? What does it look like? Okay, I'm going to give myself this years before I finish school. I'm going to get this experience, get this skill set, get whatever I'm going to do. In that way, what I'm doing as a person is that I'm putting myself up there for any opportunity. Whenever the opportunity comes, I can just take it. But I'm not going to wait till I finish and now go and do what I have to do.
Good. I think I couldn't have said it better. I think that really the concept of spirituality, proactiveness, and creation are skill sets and mentality that can serve everybody well. I'm really had a good time talking to you today, Nana. It's been an absolute delight and pleasure. I'm excited about what you are doing, your research, and its potential impact on all of humanity. And maybe I hope to see you one day on TV and getting an award for a giant or monumental biomedical breakthrough, which I think is a very huge possibility. Anyway, thank you for coming by today. It's always been a pleasure. Maybe in the future, we'll have you back on to tell us about your next big gig. Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much too.